Once upon a time, there was a kingdom where everything was made of gold. So wait, this is how many fairy tales begin. How about trying something different for once? Maybe, once upon a time there was a kingdom where everything was made of salt. Well, now it's more original. All the more so because it's actually the plain truth. That kingdom is called Hallstatt. Salt is literally omnipresent here. All you have to do is lightly kick the ground and it will come to the surface. That's how the first people came to its presence, and it was quite a long time ago, at least since the Neolithic period, some 7,000 years ago. However, the most famous period of salt mining in Hallstatt was at the beginning of the Iron Age, roughly 800 to 400 years before Christ. And you ask why? In 1846, mining foreman Johann Georg Ramsauer came across human remains in the hills above Hallstatt. The graves were located in the forest, not far from the salt mines, and the remains were often accompanied by archaic-looking objects. Ramsauer joked that they were probably people buried many centuries ago. With permission from the authorities, Ramsauer continued to explore the graves. By 1863, he had discovered 980 of them in this way. The people who examined the graves were increasingly surprised by the great wealth they found there. The origin of some jewelry or useful objects was even determined to be in the Mediterranean region, or even North Africa. A society that could afford to equip its deceased for eternity in such a way must have been very wealthy for its time. She owed this wealth to one single mineral, salt. It was mined here not only for its own use, but mainly for barter trade. Salt was then a highly prized commodity, much like oil is today, and as now, it flowed through trade routes throughout the then-known world. Thanks to the objects found, it was possible to determine that the graves belonged to the first half of the first millennium BC. The prehistoric burial ground discovered in Hallstatt became so famous that it even imprinted the name of an entire historical epoch. Henceforth the early Iron Age was to be called Hallstatt. Research into the Hallstatt prehistoric burial ground is actually still ongoing. The area here is an archaeological site. 1,500 graves have been covered so far, but according to sober estimates, the surrounding forests hide another 5,000. And now that we've talked about the people who lived in Hallstatt in prehistoric times, let's see what the place where they once worked looks like. The old salt mine no longer serves its purpose, but it is open to those interested in history as a museum. It offers a roughly 2-hour tour, during which the guide will take you through the world of salt, and finally you will be taken on a mining machine. So let's take a look.
This is filled with magnesium and calcium, and the red ones are more with iron inside. If you turn, you can see the famous hearts from Hallstatt.
Los geht's und lachen, ja?
The mining train slowly took us out into the daylight and we set off on our way to the valley. But before that, we won't forget to visit the viewing platform offering breathtaking views of the town of Hallstatt lying far below. The salt mine is connected to the town by a mountain path and a cable car. After a short internal struggle, whether to prefer the more adventurous option in the form of a trail, or choose a more comfortable solution, the city person wins. The cable car is the real deal. After a few minutes of travel, there is the lower station of the cable car. It lies on the outskirts of Hallstatt, but make no mistake, what we see is the newer part of the town. The real, historic Hallstatt, which was included in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List, lies a little further away. Only behind a few roadblocks and barriers to make access to this paradise as unpleasant as possible for cars. Historical Hallstatt actually consists of only one main street, sandwiched between steep cliffs and a lake. A number of houses and 2 churches still have to be squeezed into the remaining space. And that's the whole wonder called Hallstatt. Until the end of the 19th century, there were 2 ways to get to Hallstatt, by boat on the lake or by a path through the mountain range. In 1890, the rocks reaching the lake were finally blasted away and a regular road could thus be created. This still forms the main access road to Hallstatt. Hallstatt is inhabited not only by locals, but is now an increasingly popular destination for visitors from abroad. One nation liked Hallstatt to such an extent that in 2012 it even built a copy of the town at considerable financial cost at their home. When the locals heard that a copy of their beloved city had grown up in China, they were a little angry. But in the end they put up with it. They are well aware that Hallstatt, the real Hallstatt, can only be one in the world anyway.